All right, so here are 15 noise rock albums you probably missed in 2022. There's some that I missed, some that I just enjoyed and wanted to mention. But this is not a best of, and a lot of this lines up with my taste, which is definitely more leaning towards the sort of 90s side of things. Because when I was growing up, that's what I picked up on was sort of maybe you heard Nirvana when you were a kid. Well, there were other conduits for that kind of energy, and noise rock had a lot of it. So, um, Child Bite is actually one of my favorite noise rock related whatever bands I can think of, and they put out a split with Black Reno, which is a Australian sort of post-hardcore band, definitely metallic, hardcore influenced, and they paired up pretty well for this split. There's just a couple of songs. It's not too demanding of like full listen, and the actual packaging is pretty cool. I know that looks stupid, just that cover. It looks stupid, but the cutout there is actually it's an actual cutout, and you can sort of stick. I have it somewhere, but you can kind of pull it out and put it back in, and there's a bunch of images there on the foil, which it looks kind of funny right there, but it's cool in person. Anyway, that's a stupid reason to care about it, but hey, the songs are good on this thing, so it's worth grabbing. It's pretty good. Still form. Still form is a Portland area project that is from the main guy from Marriage Plus Cancer. Was that the name of the band? Marriage Plus Cancer. That was a great band. I think they put out a couple albums, a couple of releases, and just split up. And so this is sort of in that in that vein. It is aggressive in the same way that was. Maybe this is a little bit more heavier, a little heavier than that was. Um, it's got members of bands you would know if you were sort of in the Portland area and follow the weird rock scenes there. But I just enjoyed this album quite a bit. I didn't see too many people talking about it, and it's just kind of in the same vein of Marriage is Cancer. It's a little bit darker than you'd expect. The lyrics definitely go places that are uncomfortable, and it's just exactly what I think sort of the noise rock post hardcore side of things should be, and I enjoyed that quite a bit. Similar notes for Shame from Desperate Living. Now this comes out like next week, so what the fuck am I saying? You missed it. Well, you might have, but anything on Reptilian is usually of a certain quality, and this is no exception. It's a very memorable noise rock record, similar, in kind of there's a little bit of Unsane in there, especially when you consider the bass lines, and there's a little bit of what I call darker sludge adjacent noise rock in there too. So overall, I thought this is just a standout record for noise rock related releases in 2022, and there was no other place to put it, so this is where it went, and I highly recommend it. And so from that point, we're just going to get into weird shit. And Spoil Man is weird shit. It's a Tokyo based sort of collective of musicians who they basically play what I would consider Sonic Youth influenced post hardcore with a bit of uh, shellac in there too. And that means that there's a lot of sort of almost metallic groove to some of the stuff they do, but a lot of it is sort of nutty, almost jammed post-hardcore noise rock feeling pieces. And they start this record off in the weirdest way. It's a 12-minute jam with a couple of song ideas that were probably pre-planned in there too, and it makes for a really interesting, probably off-putting place to start with an improvisational 12-minute piece. But the album goes weirder places, and some of it's terrible, some of it's great. But I had to recommend it because those songs that do hit in the right spot continue to do so throughout the album. Um, so Easy Prey. Now, a lot of the people who would talk about this band probably put them more squarely in the post-hardcore realm, but for me, their rhythmic intent, the intensity of it, yeah, that might match up with some. like metallic modern post-hardcore side of things, but for me it reads a little bit more like there is some touch and go style rhythmics in there. There is sort of shade of noise rock, very much related to post-hardcore in there, and it's a Texas-based band. I really love their last EP, Relentless Struggle. So I went into this like really excited about this record, and it is really good. But um, yeah, I made the mistake of reading. I rarely read other people's writing. I read like a premiere that said something about coalesce and kiss it goodbye, and it was like, am I listening to different shit here? I don't know what the fuck's going on. So I didn't review it. Uh, I just waited on it, gave it some time. My mind didn't really change. It's a great, very aggressive, very impassioned record, no matter what subgenre or association you attach to it. And yeah, it was. I don't. I you know I. I don't like the album art is it makes sense. It makes a statement. It's a very important one too, but it doesn't make it good looking for a record. Like I don't know, it didn't check all the boxes for like, you know, pretentious album collector me wanting something that was a little bit more visually interesting. So don't mind me. It's a great record. Um, Bad Breeding's Human Capital, I think is one of the better crust related releases of the year. I think uh, like all of the records have been pretty uniformly great. And I love anything that references Discharge as much as it does Rudimentary Peni, and Peni, however you pronounce that. And they mess around with the beats, the rhythms here to the point where, yeah, I'm referencing everything from Heresy to Killing Joke, and that's a big deal because it's a cool combination of things. Is it noise rock? Eh, adjacent, and very good adjacent. If you just like hardcore and crust, if I'm mentioning like a band like Kaleidoscope in here, you already know that you're getting something great. So that's just a great album that you should listen to. That's all. Um, Cowman here is uh, well, it's a guy with a guitar and probably a drum machine finding his rhythms, and it's captivating, thoughtful, strange. Maybe it's a little underthought. Maybe not all of it hits, but it's an interesting thing to sort of dig into and pay attention to. I don't know what else to say about it because it's kind of like it's not necessarily something I would recommend, but it is something that was captivating and interesting in a way that I thought it's kind of worth mentioning. Um, Same goes for Marion Spore. I think a lot of people recommended this record to me, and I didn't understand why. It's like there's a new metal rhythm section kind of hitting hardcore-ish beats and pulling out some converge riffs and chugs around in a kind of a bad noise rock kind of way, and it kind of works. Um, but it came so highly recommended, I just decided, maybe more people like this shit. I don't, but it's all right. Um, I do definitely like Gnod, right? That's how you pronounce that. Gnod's Hexen Valley. I've been a big fan of this band for a while, for several years now, and I think this is one of their more abrasive, uh, kind of room filling, affecting records they put out in a little while. It's hard to catch up. They put out quite a few records more recently, and I didn't really connect too much to Chapel Perilous, but I really liked this one. Um, so, I mean, yeah. What can I say about this record? um, Plenty of noise on this one. A little bit of the industrial stuff you like about them, the sort of motoric value of the rhythms, and the bass is really prominent on this one. You're going to catch my attention if your noise rock album or adjacent psychedelic rock album has a prominent and effective bass performance, and that's what this one has. So it caught up with me. Now I like Laces Out quite a bit. Their first EP was uh, just kind of alternative rockish, and too much to the point where I was just like, I'm not going to cover this. I don't like alternative rock. Fuck off. But this has a little bit more of the classic post-hardcore meets noise rock adjacent intent to it. There's a little bit of Fugazi, a little bit of Quicksand on this record, and it's somber. I call it dizzy, and there is a little bit of an indie rock touch to some of it, but it's a great record, and one that I think a lot of people will appreciate if they approach it without expectations and just like I did, just leave it playing, sit back and see where it hits, and it did for me here and there. Um, I included 30,000 Monkeys on here with the assumption that they were at least somewhat similar to their previous record, which was weird enough to start. Um, it isn't that similar. I don't know what the fuck it is. There's one song on here that I recognize as them, and then they venture into drone. They venture into some kind of orchestral droning piece. Man, it goes somewhere, and I think it's pretty cool. But yeah, yeah, whatever that was, it was cool. I don't know if it's noise rock adjacent enough for most people, but it needed to be mentioned somewhere just for being standing out. um, yeah, I was kind of scrambling for like things I overlooked. There was a lot of bigger name stuff that I wanted to include that just didn't really fit, and basically, intercourse ended up being the way to go with this. It's a couple of songs, and I don't know if you don't know intercourse. It's um, like it's when someone is ranting as hard as they can about something that's very serious, but can include a joke or two around the edge. It's sort of like having that conversation on, cranked out of your mind while like a like a power violence band plays in the background and kind of sounds like a noise rock group. So it's a basically a post-hardcore band who are a little bit extreme in everything they do, and this is like 2 minutes of that gives you a great idea of what they're all about. Maybe it's hilarious, maybe it's frightening, but it's they're always provocative, and I think they've continued to be more and more provocative beyond their. I think it was 2018 release, which was on my favorite of the year list. So they're worth getting to know their discography. Leroy is kind of a last minute addition here. It's an Italian noise rock slash post hardcore trio. Most people will sort of read it as a little bit of alternative rock, but also the adjacent post hardcore side of that. They have some just general like stoner garage grunge sounds to their songwriting. I like if um think of it like if Red Fang made a noise rock album, and maybe that's ironic for a couple of reasons, but it's a cool record and worth checking out. Uh, Psychic Graveyard USA Nails put out a split LP. I think it's one of the best noise rock related experimental music things of the year, and I've included it here because the thing that I originally had in this spot on the list was just terrible. So this is not terrible. It's great. It's an essential release from the year. I think everything USA Nails have released is just perfect, and they continue to impress me with everything they do. And I've become more of a fan of Psychic Graveyard with each release. I like how experimental they've been, and they make sure that every release is memorable, and that this one very much is. And finally, Asbestos Worker is the second or third record from this formerly solo uh, sort of sludge noise rock kind of band, and I it's not bad. It's all right. I won't get into it too much because I don't think it's up to like an insanely good standard. But if you missed it and you like the last record, check that one out too. Um, so there you go. That's 15 noise rock albums you might have missed in 2022. As always, we're digging through the underground stuff, the Bandcamp and all that, and I just try to pick whatever has the right vibe. Is something you wouldn't have heard. So take it as you will. Check them out if you want, and that's all.